College Corner.
A rare losing week last week, 1-2 on the college football picks. Still a 10-5 run since back in week 7, and positive year. We got hooked on LSU plus 10.5. Just a bad, unfortunate number. It was that close, but I feel good about these 3 plays for this week. College football coming down to the wire, and the models all over all 3 of these. We start in the SEC, where we have Georgia minus 5.5 against Texas. Now, Georgia just put on a completely thorough dominance of Mississippi State last week. It was ugly early. They got down 7-0 in this game. From there, they rattled off 5 straight scores, ran this up to 38-7. I guess mathematically I'm going through this. That'd be 6 straight scores. For 3 quarters, it was just lights out ass whooping. And then Mississippi State scored a couple late. I don't know, just kind of let's tack this on and make the score seem closer than it was. This Georgia team has been underappreciated this season. They've got a quarterback in Gunnar Stockton who is just one of those throwback quarterbacks that you just don't want to give all the credit to. Very similar to Stetson Bennett, who kind of captained them to the national championship a couple years ago. But there's talent all over this team at the skill positions, and in the trenches, they're as good as anybody. To get them against a Texas team who I think is still living off of reputation a little bit with Arch Manning. I mean, they're 7-2 on the year, but you go through their recent weeks since they beat Oklahoma, and mind you, Oklahoma's quarterback was hurt for that game. They haven't beaten some of the cupcake SEC opponents by more than 1 score. Like, they survived against Kentucky by 3, survived against Mississippi State by 7. The same Mississippi State team that Georgia just rattled off 38 unanswered against. I'm shocked this number is under a touchdown for me. If Georgia takes care of business, they should run away with this one and get a real big resume statement victory. So lock that in for the first play this week. For play number 2, we turn to the Big Ten Conference, and it's a bounce back spot here. A team I thought was really unfortunate to not emerge with a victory last week. It's the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're catching 6.5 points. They are taking on the USC Trojans. Now, both of these teams last week were in the mix to kind of make this sneaky run to the college football playoff. That's done for Iowa. They lose a heartbreaker, buzzer-beating field goal to Oregon. But I was really impressed with how they played in that game. I think this is an Iowa program at this point that you can come to expect. They're never going to give up on a season. They're tough as hell defensively. They want to beat you with special teams and positioning. They just don't beat themselves. They're taking on a USC team that I think will go out of their way to beat themselves, quite frankly, in the Lincoln Riley era. That's kind of become a staple of them. And USC is good, don't get me wrong, but when they've played these dominant trench-type teams this season, I think that's when they've kind of struggled a little bit. Now, this is a West Coast trip for Iowa. It's certainly a dangerous spot given the emotional loss at the last second to Oregon. It's really going to be a what are you made of game. But at 6.5 points, I'm willing to back that Iowa's made of some tough guys that are not going to give up on the season against a USC team that I think is very far from tough. And also, this is a look-ahead spot for USC. After this game against Iowa, they go to Oregon, which is by far their biggest game of the season. So I take Iowa here, almost a full touchdown. I would love it at 7. If you want to buy up the half point, I don't hate that. But to me, this is a 1-possession game. One more to add to the card, too. Staying in the Big Ten, it's an over here. We're going to take Purdue and Washington over 53.5 points. Talk about a team that people assumed would give up on the season. Purdue's 2-8 overall, 0-7 in the conference. They have nothing to play for, mathematically eliminated from a bowl game. But it's first year under Barry Odom, their new head coach, who really has changed the culture here in a positive way. In back-to-back weeks, they've impressed against Michigan and Ohio State, making those games competitive long into the late first half in spots where people thought they were just going to get dog-walked. This Purdue offense has been able to move the ball all year. Their issue has not been getting into field position to score. It's really been defensively with a secondary that can get torched at any moment. This week, they take on a Washington team that is coming off the worst loss any team's had in the Big Ten this year. They were in Madison last week, lose 13-10 to Wisconsin, a terrible Wisconsin team, quite frankly. But in a game that was entirely a bad weather game, it was all snow. Washington, this prolific offense, has not been able to throw the ball for a week because they were in the snow and they didn't know what to do. And ultimately, that benefited Wisconsin in a huge way to the point of an upset. To me, I expect Washington to bounce back extremely hard here. This is a team that has hung 42 points on Illinois, 38 points on Rutgers, 59 on Washington State. I mean, they can score and cover this 53 number on their own against a terrible Purdue secondary that ranks 17th in the Big Ten. Washington should get to 40 in this game. If we can get 2 touchdowns from Purdue, that's an easy over at 53.5. Lock that in. That's our 3 for the week. Georgia -5, Iowa +6.5, and then over 53.5 in Purdue and Washington.
Love it, Greg. Georgia play seems really nice to me. Texas has looked so inconsistent and so much up and down. And like you said, Georgia showed you like, oh, they let them score. And then it was like, yeah, that's it. And shut the door last week. Iowa leading in that game late, I believe, last week. So, yeah, they were totally live for the upset. And nice to see the Dimer spot get some value on them in back-to-back weeks as a spot that cashed last week. And I don't know if that was the only time you've had them on the show before, but they're not a infrequent team to show up in the Dimers model at all.
Yeah, it's not a public team, right? Because I don't think anybody wants to bet anything Iowa except for unders. But the reality is this offense is better than most Iowa football offenses. That was another bad weather game. It feels like every Big Ten team was affected by rain and sleet and snow last week. So, going out west, it's a little different. Let's see what you're actually made of. But Iowa's held up nicely and shown value all season long. So there you have it. Make sure subscribe to the show because we do College Corner every single week. It's usually on the Tuesday show. Usually we try to bring 3 picks to the table. Like we said, 10-5 on the season, due for a bounce back. I like our chances this week, Dave.